What's up, everybody? Welcome to League Unlocked. My name's Eric Hummel, all alone on set today, and there's plenty of news to go around in the League of Legends scene, even though it is the off-season across all major regions, pretty much. The biggest of that news has to do with the 2018 Asian Games. We already know League of Legends is being included in it, but now Korea has announced their roster for this event. Some guys you'd expect, some familiar names, and some guys that are a little bit surprising to come onto this roster. So let's run through it. Obviously, you got Faker in the mid lane. I think you could pretty much guess that's what was going to happen. But some surprises. Keen in that top lane for a freak of freaks. Young stud has performed super well on that squad. Surprising that he's there over the likes of Smeb or Khan, but they go with Keen, and I'm okay with it. The jungle duo of Score and Peanut, no arguments there. Probably two of the top two guys in the LCK, and it continues the theme of LCK teams wanting to have two junglers that they can bring in and out to kind of go over pathing and the likes. And then the bottom lane is from Gen G, KSV, Samsung. I'm just going to say all three team names every time we're talking about them. CoreJJ and Ruler. Also a little bit surprising over the likes of Prey and Gorilla. Maybe the not so stellar performance at MSI deterred the picking teams from bringing in King's Own guys, but you gotta feel like Prey and Gorilla should be there ahead of someone like CoreJJ and Ruler, although they were the most consistent part of KSV in 2018 spring. Ruler was 1v9ing in a lot of those games, and a few of their wins came solely on the back of Ruler, so not a huge surprise that those guys are there. They also have Edgar, head coach of Gen G, KSV again. Samsung. Gotta say all three, but so they got the coach from the bottom lane to help them out there. Obviously, it makes sense to take a bot lane duo to have that inherent synergy already instilled in the team. Faker has played with Peanut before, so there are some synergy to go around with there. And in the top lane, you're left on an island anyway, so you don't need synergy with the rest of the team, right? That's how it works. Overall, looks like a pretty solid roster. Probably not what I would have been expecting for them to go forward with. That jungle duo is going to be nasty, a force to be reckoned with. Faker is Faker. People would lose their minds, myself included, if they picked anyone else but Faker, even though BDD has been pretty fantastic lately. So we'll see what that roster can do. Obviously, it's going to be pretty exciting to see it at the Asian Games. And one thing to keep in note for this whole event is the way it works over there is when you compete in this and get a medal, you're exempt from military participation, which is usually something you have to do in Korea. But because it's just a demonstration, a sport for this event, even if they win a medal, they are not exempt from military service, which some people are kind of up in arms about, but I'm not going to touch any of that. I'm just excited for the event, 2018 Asian Games, which gets going over the summer, and the LCK and Riot have said maybe they'll tinker with the regular season schedule to kind of allow these guys to take some time away from their teams to go to this basically all-star event, because that is definitely an all-star lineup. Patch 8.11 is hitting the Rift very shortly, and with that comes Pyke, the all-new champion who's a support, they say. Everyone is saying that's not a support, but I think it's a very interesting mechanic and playstyle that could work. People kind of prefer to see him as a jungler maybe because he has so much CC, and even in their champion spotlight, they're saying the recommended builds are Duskblade and Ghostblade. I mean, that is the thing that Tilt is made of if your support is building those items, but this is a new playstyle where he's going to be very squishy. If you want to tank, don't be picking him in that bottom lane because he is going full damage trying to get you guys, his team, fed, because even when he gets the kills, it's going to get you ahead. He kind of reminds me of Thresh just because he's so mechanically intensive. There's so many different things that you can do. I'm really excited to see him played wherever he is, but I would like to see him. I think he could thrive in that bottom lane and bring an entirely new play style, something interesting, kind of like Rakan did when he burst onto the Rift with Xayah. But Pyke, he looks very interesting. Got a very creepy voice, so that's the main thing. One of the biggest things of patch 8.11. Another one is, of course, all these AD carry marksman changes to items. I know people are all up in arms about it because of these big changes to crit. Obviously, there's also the Talia nerf. And LS said in his patch rundown, you might see her as a support. He could see that. That could be interesting. I'm not so sure if that'll come true, but it'd be something interesting. But jumping back to the AD carry items, pretty much all the main ones are getting changed, as well as they're adding a new one in the Storm Razor, which sounds absolutely busted on the likes of Lucian, because he's going to be dashing around all over the place. Mainly the main people who are going to thrive with Storm Razors and Essence Reaver and the like are going to be someone like Lucian and Kaisa and probably Ezreal with that Essence Reaver as well. That's another item where, you know, being able to shorten the cooldowns on your abilities, your non-ultimate abilities for like Lucian and Ezreal, that's going to be fantastic because they already have that inherently built into their kit, and to be able to only add to that even more is going to be pretty amazing. I know Lucian, it's a little harder to utilize with his ult to get that attack speed boost, so we'll see how that changes things. But I mean, the main thing is crit changing, Infinity Edge not giving you more crit. It's going to be, it doubles your crit percentage based on what you have, and then it's going to convert some of your crit damage into true damage. So we'll see how strong that actually is. It's also going to be more expensive, so these builds are going to become later on for AD carries. They already pulled back, dialed back pretty much all early game stats for AD carries. So the first 10 levels of the game, you're going to be even more useless than you usually were, but later on, theoretically, you're going to be stronger. And they made lifesteal items a little bit cheaper. Last Whisper also got changed. It's no longer percent armor pen. It's just going to be straight armor pen. And it's also a bit more expensive and a bit less damage. So that seems like tanks are going to have a field day with items like Lord Dominic's Regard not being as powerful going forward. So we'll see how these changes work, but it's definitely going to spice up the bottom lane. Should be very interesting to see how it affects matchups, what champions come in. But I think you're going to be seeing more Lucian, especially with a couple patches ago they buffed his passive a little bit. Maybe this is what brings him back in the meta with all these new item changes, but we'll have to see in patch 8.11 when it hits the pro scene. We're back. It's League Unlock. It's a Thursday, and we got some off-season news. Couple of weeks away from the LCS getting started up, and there's not many unanswered questions. We knew that this offseason would not be nearly as crazy as it was coming into 2018 spring with franchising, taking over a bunch of EU guys. Obviously, every roster in NA changed, so not going to be nearly as crazy. But one of the big moves was Schalke getting rid of Pride earlier on, almost immediately after the spring split ended. Well, now they've found the replacement. They signed Amazing, who was, you know, I mean, he's been across a bunch of different teams, but the last time we saw him was in spring as an analyst on the EU LCS broadcast. Before that, he was on Mysterious Monkeys, actually getting relegated from the EU LCS by Schalke, which is a perfect full circle. Clearly, the reason they got rid of Pride was not because of mechanical ability. He was still a solid player for them, but I guess the organization just felt like they needed someone who had more of a leadership presence, which is kind of surprising considering they have guys like Vizicachi, Nuke Duck, and Vander, guys who have been around for many years, but they wanted a voice on the team, a vocal leader, which, I mean, you're probably getting with Amazing. He's not been afraid to speak his mind in and outside a game. Sometimes he makes some poor decisions, but at least it seems like they'll have a clear voice to listen to on this squad, and I think it should be an improvement. I think Pride, obviously, he's a little bit more unknown. You kind of know what you're getting with Amazing because he's been around for so long. But people like to meme him about his career, but he's had some pretty high highs. Quarterfinals with TSM at Worlds, and obviously semis with Origin. So, I mean, this guy has performed on an international level. He's played on a bunch of different teams, different regions. So I think Schalke will be happy with that signing, and it should help them to get into the playoffs where they belong. If this roster misses out on playoffs in back-to-back splits, they're probably blowing it up, which might be a little too early then, but I had pretty high expectations for them coming into spring, thought they could finish top 3. Obviously they didn't. I feel like they have a chance to do that again. They should finish near the top. This roster, Amazing probably didn't look great on Mysterious Monkeys because that roster was bad. You look at Schalke, I mean, across the board, they're pretty much better in every single position. So he should have a much better time jungling there. And I'm excited to see how this roster does in 2018 summer. They should be in playoffs. Speaking about playoffs, 2018 summer, EULCS finals. We're going back to Madrid. Big venue. EULCS has been doing it right, whereas NA picked a small venue in spring. They went to a big one, and Madrid is going to be another one. The last time they were there was 2015. Had a pretty exciting event there. The crowd is always absolutely ludicrous in Spain. You know they got to bring Expeke over to have as a guest analyst of some kind during the broadcast because, I mean, he's synonymous with Spain as well as the Origin brand, really. That's kind of where their main backing is. Should be an exciting event out there in Madrid. Now you got Madrid there, and obviously the NA finals are going to Oracle Arena out in Oakland. So both venues should be able to deliver on the hype. I'm sure the atmosphere will be pretty electric. We saw what Paris was in the knockout stage for MSI, and it's probably only going to be maybe not bigger because Paris is insane, but it's going to be good stuff for Madrid. Also, off-season news that isn't the main level of LCS, academy teams, TSM and 100 Thieves doing a little swap-de-doo. Brandini leaving TSM to go to 100 Thieves Academy, and they did announce basically their full roster for this upcoming Academy League season, and surprisingly enough, they still have Levi on the Academy squad. People thought he might be coming out of Academy League, being promoted to the LCS for summer. Maybe he will as the split goes on, but it looks like for now he's staying on the Academy roster. And in the video 100 Thieves release, you could hear him speak some English, which was much improved and very impressive considering he didn't speak a lick of it like 6 months ago, basically. And now he is, it sounds like he could maybe function some interviews speaking English, which is an amazing thing to learn while you're also competing at a professional level. Also interesting that I totally didn't know / forgot is that Stunt is on that 100 Thieves roster. So their lineup is Brandini, Levi, Linsanity, who's one of the most hyped up domestic mid laners in the Challenger scene, along with Demonte. I guess it's not Challenger. It's Academy League now. Excuse me, Riot. And then Rakara and Stunt in the bottom lane. Stunt should really have an LCS spot, and maybe he will get one a couple weeks in. I don't know where he would slot in some of these teams, but that Academy team looks super solid for 100 Thieves, and Levi's already been hovering around that top spot in solo queue on the North American ladder. So we know the mechanics are still there. The countdown will continue to when we actually get to see this guy on the LCS stage, because you know it's inevitable that he'll be there eventually. That's all the time for League Unlocked today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.